Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and coming up in today's newscast, a potentially agreeable Iran nuclear deal now on the table and awaiting signatures. Meantime, the 59th murder in the Arab-Israeli community this year. A mother tragically shot dead in front of her 3 children in central Israel. And then later, pornographic opportunity or trap for grooming prostitutes. Israeli groups pushing back on the shocking rise in OnlyFans accounts. The Iran nuclear deal may actually be renewed now, as EU chief diplomat Josep Borrell saying the best possible deal is on the table. With a new draft text for a revived 2015 Iran nuclear deal, EU foreign policy chief Josep Borrell saying it's time to sign. After 15 months of negotiations, Borrell claiming that it's the best possible deal that I, as facilitator of the negotiations, see as feasible, and that this unique opportunity to succeed must be seized, as no effective alternative is within reach. Additionally, Borrell explaining that all sides would be making major compromises. The draft text addressing, quote, in precise detail the sanctions lifting as well as the nuclear steps needed to restore the JCPOA, end quote. Whether the P5+1 feel the same, however, is another matter. Iran and the U.S. so far only confirming they've received and are reviewing their copies of the draft. And Iran hinting at a willingness to sign, but contingent on certain, quote, U.S. political decisions.
نزدیک بودن یا دور بودن به توافق مرتبط با تصمیم سیاسی دولت آمریکاست. جمهوری اسلامی ایران حتما به توافق فکر میکنه و علاقمند توافق در آینده نزدیک انجام بشه و شکل بگیره، اما قطعا احساسی عمل نخواهیم کرد و منافع اساسی جمهوری اسلامی ایران و ملت رو مد نظر قرار خواهیم داد.
Still, Borrell warning that if this deal is rejected, we risk a dangerous nuclear crisis set against the prospect of increased isolation for Iran and its people. Yet another murder and another act of brutal violence against women in Israel. This as the mother of 3 murdered in central Israel Tuesday night in front of her daughters, and family and friends saying it's all too obvious who killed her. Tragedy in Lod Tuesday evening. A woman shot dead supposedly in front of her 3 daughters in what's become the 59th murder in Israel's Arab community since January. Apparently refusing offers to go to a shelter that protects women in high risk, Rabab Abu Siam had reportedly moved to the city of Lod to live on her own with her children. She had recently divorced her husband, and neighbors and family members saying that Abu Siam feared he may come to hurt her. In text messages last week, her ex-husband writing, "I'll show you how the divorce will end." And Abu Siam reportedly telling her sister in the last few days, quote, "Take care of the girls if he kills me." An unfortunately prophetic statement, as Abu Siam was shot in her own garden while her 2-year-old daughter was playing on her lap. Abu Siam's father saying he was in the house when someone shot his daughter 6 times in the head and 3 in the side. Likewise, witnesses saying they heard shots and then a white car fleeing from the scene. Police later finding the car burnt and abandoned in an alley. As of this writing, police saying they're looking for suspects. Abu Siam was a 30-year-old elementary school teacher, and she's remembered as, quote, an excellent and educated teacher and a stunning, exemplary woman who loved life so much. Joining me now with more on the ongoing plight of violence in the Arab-Israeli community, expert on Jewish-Arab relations and director of strategy at the Givat Haviva Center for a Shared Society, Mohammed Darafche. Mohammed, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. It's said that police were more than aware of Abu Siam's situation, even coming over to the house to warn of an imminent threat. Why didn't they arrest the ex-husband and prevent this attack?
Well, I mean, we can specifically look at this event and try to understand the details, but I don't have that many of the details. But we know that of the existence of a much deeper problem, which is police negligence, and specifically in handling domestic violence and trying to provide protection for people under danger in the Arab community. It's against women specifically, where the police tries to hide behind the argument that it is a matter of culture and it's a matter of community internal relations, where the police does not want to actually get involved, but actually that is an excuse that didn't help this lady, and is not helping more than 60 casualties since the beginning of 2022, and about 500 casualties over the last 5 years, and over the last 3 years in the Arab community. The police relationship and attendance to the needs of the Arab community, what's called domestic policing, is much lower than what's expected. They should have provided protection for this lady, as they should provide protection for the many of the innocent people that die on regular basis in the Arab community in the hands of crimes that seem to act as if they feel protected or as if they feel untouchables in the Arab community. Under-policing is the highlight of the matter. Unfortunately, in this case, this lady paid with her price, leaving 3 orphans in her home.
So, you mentioned policing and that more should have been done, and that there was gross negligence here, it sounds like. Police had warned her, asked her to go to a shelter. She reportedly refused. A Knesset member, Sulaiman, says that, that's not an answer. Women shouldn't have to live in a shelter. What more should the police have been doing to try and protect Abu Siam and others like her?
Well, as I said, I'm not a police officer. I've never been a police officer, so I don't know the details of how you're supposed to protect an endangered person. But if that's a person, if you or I are in some kind of danger, then the police should be the one that knows how to do it. So clearly, they didn't do enough. Either they did not understand the circumstances, or they did not inquire enough about the circumstances. It's not enough just to warn a person that he's under danger and they should hide in some kind of a shelter. The police should have been on it and should have provided the protection needed. Clearly, the fact that they knew that she was under danger, it means that they also knew where that danger is coming from. So they could have taken additional preventive actions. But let this, it's not just handling this specific matter. So in this specific matter, maybe the police did enough. I doubt it. But overall, when you get, when Arab women are in 5 times more danger of dying as a result of violence in comparison to Jewish women, the number of Arab women is 5 times more the number of Jewish women that get killed, then clearly there's a problem in the policing. When Arab men also die at a rate of 17 times more than Jewish men, it's 17 times more. So with women, it's even a lighter problem. With men, it's a much more severe problem, because there you engage also with gangs and crime, organized crime. Then we realize that the police is not really doing what's expected from the police. The police should do more.
Mohammed,
the police should do better.
So again, do you think that it's an apathy problem or a negligence problem on the side of the police, or do you think that there is, a socioeconomic issue here? Is it a systemic issue? Why do you think it is so much more prevalent in the Arab-Israeli community than it is in the Jewish community?
Well, it's a combination. First of all, those that try to hide behind the concept that this is a mentality problem, why did this mentality not erupt 10 years ago? Why it's only in the last 10 years? Why didn't it happen in the decade before? Why isn't it happening in the West Bank? Why isn't it happening in Gaza? Why isn't it happening in Jordan? Why is it so specific to the Arab citizens who are part of this culture? So it's not really a cultural problem. So the first thing, it is a matter of negligence. There is no government, but that, I would say, is half of the problem. The other half is the social economic indicators in the Arab community. Almost half of that live below poverty lines. And as such, social economic situations provide maybe a natural place for those kind of phenomena to develop.
All right, Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Thank you.
A desperate plea on Tuesday at the United Nations Security Council. Shaban al-Sayed calling on the UN to help free his son, who's been held captive by Hamas terrorists in Gaza for 7 years' time. ILTV's Kayla Eberlin reporting.
فورا وعدم استعمال خارقة مساومة ضد الدولة في إسرائيل.
Don't let the PA and Hamas use my son as a bargaining chip against Israel. This is the plea Shaban al-Sayed making in a video message for the UN, and the message coming in response to the video that Hamas released last month of al-Sayed's son Hisham. But Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Gilad Erdan, playing the video of Shaban for the Security Council members on Tuesday as they met in New York for their monthly meeting on the Israel-Palestine conflict. Meantime, the Hamas terror group in Gaza has been holding Hisham hostage for 7 years. Hisham, a civilian who suffers from mental and intellectual disabilities, is said to have wandered into Gaza in 2015 at the time of his capture. And likewise, since 2015, Hamas holding civilian Avera Mengistu and the bodies of IDF soldiers Oron Shaul and Hadar Goldin.
As the economy continues its recovery in response to coronavirus and the invasion of Ukraine, a disturbing new trend is emerging: a sharp increase in young women and teens entering the world of online sex work. So Israeli organizations are calling on the government to take action as soon as possible against what they see as a black hole for prostitution. Joining me to discuss is doctoral student in gender studies and CEO and founder of Lo Omdot Mineged, or Not Standing Idly By, Nama Goldberg. Nama, it's a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much. Now, tell us a little bit more about the rise of OnlyFans in Israel and around the world, and why you see it as one of the biggest threats for prostitution.
It's one of the new media that lure women, young women, to the sex industry. And as we know, the industry is harmful for women who participate in this platform. It's it's marked as an independent, and you can make a lot of money, just open an OnlyFans account. But we know, and we hear the stories of women who lure into it and tell us horrific stories about the things that men ask them, strange men ask them to do. So it's another way for prostitution, that's all.
Well, so what do you say to those who argue that OnlyFans is not the same as prostitutes on the street or even online? Where do you make the connection? Because, as you said, obviously there's a huge crossover, but where does the distinction lie or not lie?
Not sure there is a distinction line. I mean, there is a pimp. The pimp is the platform who takes 20% of the money. You just don't met them, and you start making videos of yourself, which become worse and worse and more explicit and more exploitive for these women. So I see it as a prostitution, as a sex in front of a camera, as a porn. This is the new thing. Women doesn't have to go to streets anymore. The new media is exposing us all the new ways of commercialize the body, using the body. But I think the sad part of it is that we think it's okay. We think it's a good thing, and women make a lot of money. In fact, it's not the truth.
So how do you contend with the very minor but not insignificant number of sex workers who say that they like the job and were aware of its ramifications when they opened an account on OnlyFans, etc.?
As I see every day, women who say it's the start, that they are choosing to do it and it's an independent and they are making a lot of money. During times, we know it become very bad for you, bad for the body, bad for the soul. It is traumatized. Prostitution is traumatized women, even if there is no touch, even if it's via camera. We see the damages, and the literature is documented the damages all over. You can't enter prostitution and be fine with it. At the end, you will pay price more than you will earn any money.
So again, what do you suggest be done, and by whom?
First of all, I think it's that we should educate the public that this is a platform of prostitution and not like everything else. And this is not an innocent platform. And second of all, I think government should close this kind of website. And I believe in education more than anything. I think we should educate the public.
So I would, on a personal note, I would completely agree about the education. I wonder what you think about how much the government really should get involved in trying to limit sex work, because historically, it drives workers underground and into more dangerous conditions. It doesn't eliminate the sex work from the streets.
I'm not sure you're right. I didn't read any article that it is driven women to a more dark places. On the contrary, I know all the arguments. I don't think that the government should say anything to the women in prostitution, but they should say to the customers, to the Johns, that is not appropriate to consume women's body. This is my argument.
And how, I don't know, what would you say again to young girls who are thinking that that they have the control over what they do on these websites and can stop at any time?
It's pretend control. It's not actually control. You start thinking this is under control, but nothing is under control. And most of you who start OnlyFans account will find yourself doing things you don't want to do and lose your boundaries.
All right, Naama, thank you very much for joining us and for your insights.
Thank you.
Now, with serious challenges ahead, the next generation of Israelis will need every resource and skill that they can get. So to help in this mission, Jewish National Fund USA affiliate Green Horizons is offering an amazing outdoor hiking and camping program that takes youths across the country through gorgeous settings while promoting leadership, social responsibility, and Zionist values. Joining me with the details is Mika Halevi from Moshav Herut, who is finishing her gap year as a counselor, and on Zoom, chair of the Friends of Green Horizons, Bob Weiss. But Mika, I'm actually going to start with you. What was the biggest thing that you learned participating in this program?
I think the biggest thing I've learned from this program is the importance of belonging somewhere. I came to Israel when I was 8 years old with my family, and it was very difficult for me to find somewhere that I felt at home. And I think Green Horizons was that place for me, and it helped me be closer to my country and the people in it.
So what do you think makes Green Horizons the particular catalyst for that thing, for that sort of connection? What makes it so special?
I think Green Horizons is one of the only youth organizations that utilizes the nature and the outdoors in such a great way to educate children. And I think that's a very good way to actually help them connect with the land that they live on. They walk on it, they sleep on it, they are always there, and they, sorry. And I think that actually helps them connect with it.
All right. Now, Bob, I want to turn to you. What is it about Green Horizons, in your opinion, that is most meaningful?
Well, there's a connection between the objective of JNF USA to develop the less crowded and expensive areas of Israel, and the mission of Green Horizons, which is to connect our kids to the land itself and the Zionist vision while developing leaders. As you mentioned, Green Horizons has a proven track record. There's over 65,000 alumni who are currently leaders in Israel's Knesset, in the IDF, in business, other kinds of service throughout the state. When you combine that strong connection between the objectives of these two organizations and the proven ability to deliver on those objectives, it's easy to see why Green Horizons and JNF USA have had a trusted and productive relationship for almost 25 years. But what drew me in was witnessing Green Horizons groups in action on Tiyulim, at encampments, when I saw the older kids teaching the younger kids, and the older kids who take what they learn and become counselors, even through their gap years, and then return as senior guides. They learn and teach confidence, leadership, responsibility. In short, they build the traits we need in our leaders.
And, again, what is it that you hope young future leaders will gain exactly from this program?
Well, first of all, they get outside. Green Horizons gets the kids to explore their country on foot, learning and respecting the outdoors. And in developing their outdoor skills, they develop confidence. And in working together to make, for example, meals together, they learn about teamwork. And in teaching those skills, they develop leadership. I think Green Horizons does about the best job I've seen in developing leadership of teams among young people. And these are critical skills in preparing kids for success in college, in military, in government service, in business, or just in life.
Now, Mika, you mentioned nature and how Green Horizons seems to be unique in the way that it incorporates nature into this program. What is it about the fact that it's in nature that you think makes it so effective?
So I think kids today are very used to be in a certain state where they have their phones and they have air conditioning, they're always indoors. And I think Green Horizons is the perfect place for them to go out of the comfort zone and actually experience new things and experience difficulties that they need to overcome by themselves or with their friends. And that's how they learn the skills, the leadership and the conversation skills that they do. I think that I, in my gap year, was able to counsel underprivileged youth in the south of Israel thanks to Jewish National Fund USA. And I was so happy to give these children all that they needed in this amazing youth movement.
Did you come up through the program as well, or did
yes,
you
I
kind
did.
of? How young were you when you first joined?
I joined when I was in the 8th grade.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's not actually like the youngest kids that joined, but
Really?
yeah.
And what are the age groups that you as a counselor are kind of mentoring?
Yeah, so I have one group that's from 4th grade to 5th grade, and then one group that's 10th grade, which are going to be counselors next year, which is very exciting. And I have one group in Dimona, which it's very, very young children to very old children because they don't have other places to go, so they all come to our program.
That's amazing. All right, Bob, my last question for you, I think, is where you got the idea or the inspiration to create this program in the way that it is iterated?
Well, I think that I agree mostly with what Mika said, that for young people, being outdoors is fun. It's actually fun for older people too, but
Right.
we certainly missed it when we couldn't go outside because of COVID. And now that we're outdoors again, Green Horizons programming on hikes and trips and overnights, it's like the spoonful of sugar that makes the actual learning of confidence, teamwork, responsibility a delight when the work you're doing is you're scaling a rock or you're crossing a stream or you're finding direction under the stars. Green Horizons successfully makes nature into a classroom for teaching important life skills. And I think they do it better than most other programs I've seen.
All right, Bob, Mika, I'm so excited to hear about this program. I think it's so amazing, and I want to thank you again so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Bob, thank you again so much for joining us as well.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around the country tonight, with more of the same expected tomorrow. Then this evening's temperatures ranging from 18 to 24 Celsius or 65 to 75 Fahrenheit. And tomorrow, top temperatures reaching a scorching 39 degrees Celsius or 102 Fahrenheit. So stay indoors and drink lots of water. That is it for today's news. For more updates from Israel and around the world, check out our website, ILTV.tv, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter. Join us on our streaming platform at ILTV+, and you can catch that across all of your devices. I'm Aaron Porras. Be well, and thank you so much for watching. Great.
Hi everyone, it's Emmanuel Kadosh. I wanted to invite you all to subscribe to ILTV Plus, where you can find our daily news and updates about Israel. And not only that, but live feeds, entertainment, our kosher food show, and so much more. Needless to say, your subscription to ILTV Plus helps us grow and create more content while also supporting the state of Israel. Our app is available on all platforms and devices, so I'll see you guys there.